Hi everyone, and welcome to the Read and Relax Series 17 2024. This event is organized by UTM Library, and today we have two amazing reviewers with us. They'll be sharing their thoughts on books they've recently read. We'll keep it casual but still get into some great insight. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. First, we have Dr. Taiwo, who will be reviewing The Rules of People by Richard Templar. After that, Yu Ling will tell us about Same as Ever by Morgan Housel. Let's begin with Dr. Taiwo. Dr. Taiwo, could you please start by introducing yourself to everyone?
My name is Dr. Taiwo Austine Olusegun. It's nice to have you here and to listen to us share on the book review Rules of the People. I am a graduate of University Technology Malaysia from the Faculty of Engineering, specializing in transportation. I just had my Viva recently, and I'm a reader, a writer, a content creator as well. I love reading, I love writing, and I love researching. I love meeting people. I love learning from people. I think that's all about me. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great. That's nice to know about you, Mr. Taiwo. So, how did you come across The Rules of People? Was it a recommendation or maybe a gift?
Oh, wow. The Rules of the People, actually, like I introduced myself, I'm a reader. So I've read quite a number of books, and especially from the author, Richard Templar. I I have the habit of buying books regularly. So having read one of his books long time ago, I walked up to the bookstore and I picked one of his book. I just saw the book Rules of the People. I've read Rules of Finances, Rules of Management, Rules of Life, Rules of Parenting, Rules of Leadership. So since his books are actually interesting, I had the flair develop likeness for other books of his, which guided me or led me to buying the Rules of the People. So it wasn't a gift, it wasn't a present to me, it was just out of my curiosity, my desire, and my love for his writing skills and his styles of writing.
That's so nice of you. All right. Now, can you tell us some basic info about the book, like the author, when it was published, those kind of things?
Oh, wow. Thank you, Vikesh, for those questions. The, the book, The Rules of the People, was written by Richard Templar. Very interesting book, simple and easy to read, very concise and simplistic. It was published in the year 2017 and about 223 pages. Actually, the book, it's segmented into four parts: understanding the people, helping people, getting people on your side, and how to handle difficult people. So the book is all about relationship with people, relating with people, getting along with people, and understanding why people behave the way they do. So it helps you to understand the intricacies about people, difficult people, and how to handle them and how to relate to them and how to make people to learn from you. No matter how difficult people are, they can always learn from you and you can always handle them and relate with them. Yeah, you cannot take away all their troubles, but you can always find a way out to make them feel loved, feel belonged, and get over some of their challenges and situations they could be passing through. It's actually an interesting book. And like I said earlier, the the author Richard Templar has written a lot of books like The Rules of Finances, The Rules of Life, The Rules of Management, The Rules of Leadership, The Rules of Parenting. So it's an interesting book. The Rules of the People is really an interesting book that I think it's more practical, a practical book, and talks about people, a bit psychological and interesting. Thank you.
Thanks for that. And could you give us a quick summary of the book and maybe tell us what made you pick it up in the first place, especially for the review?
Oh wow! Like I said, the book it's divided into four, it's segmented into four parts. Number one, understanding the people. Number two, helping people. Number three, getting them on your side, and also handling difficult people. The what interests me about the book to be reviewed is on the fact that every day we all deal with people, we all relate with people. There is no one that can succeed in isolation. You need to relate with people for you to succeed. You must be people oriented, understand how to relate with people and have people skills, or else you will never succeed in whatsoever you do. Whether you're a lecturer, a student, a manager, a director, wherever you find yourself, you must relate with people, irrespective of your background, your views about life. You still need people, and I think this will really benefit viewers and listeners alike to understand people skills and people relationship and how to relate to people and how to walk along with people, especially difficult people. Because in our world today, there are lots of situations, difficult people around, maybe passing through situations, because we are all shaped by our personal experiences. Everybody on earth is shaped by their experiences in life, and sometimes these personal experiences are actually negative that affects the way people relate with other people, which could be a transfer of experience, especially negative, to other people, to other relationships, which could be detrimental. So I think this really benefits quite a number of persons, especially students in especially UTM, where we have it's an international school with students from different countries. So it will really help, especially when you meet people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, different faiths, different views. It will help you to navigate through them and understand why they behave the way they behave and why they think the way they think and why they view life, and also understand that even though you might not like some things, it doesn't make it wrong. I might not like what you do, it doesn't mean you are wrong. So it's actually one of the motivation that helped me, that pushed me to consider this book as a review on this platform. Thank you.
That's interesting. Is there a particular chapter or section that really stuck with you? Something that has
Yeah,
had a big impact?
yeah, because quite a number of chapters. Actually, the book have quite a number of chapters that actually impacted me a lot. And there's a part that talks about how to criticize people, criticizing people, which is on the segment of getting people on your side. there's a system of criticizing people. And just briefly, I would say that when criticizing people, the book talks about that when giving, be personal about giving positive comments, but don't be personal about giving negative comments. For instance, if somebody is speaking in a stage and you can't hear the person, the book recommends that you don't say, "I can't hear you, can you speak louder?" Instead, the book recommends that you say, it's difficult for people behind to hear, right? It's difficult to hear at the backside. Another example the book also recommended is, let's say you're working with your team, with your colleagues or other students or your contemporaries, and they have to give a report, and the report wasn't done up to expectation. You don't say the report is bad. There's a better way to communicate that. You could say, "Oh, it's next time it's worth giving time to look over this report and giving it another look. It will give it a best look," rather than saying your report is bad. So it's really impacted me as a leader that there's a way you could pass negative comments without causing any harm, without saving the face of the other person, without helping the person to still be happy and still feel loved and feel helped and appreciate the comments. So be personal about positive comments, but don't be personal about negative comments. Another aspect of the book that actually impacts me also, it's understanding the difference between manipulation and persuasion. That manipulation is different from influencing people. When you see people who manipulate, when you meet manipulators, they are not influencers. When you influence people, influencing people means that you are passing through, you are proposing an aspect that benefits you and also the other person. It is not to detriment to the other person. But when you see manipulators, what they do most times are actually things that only benefits them and harm the other person most times. And there are ways you can identify manipulators. Number one, manipulators tend to make you feel that you are wrong all the time. They tend to focus more on your weakness. They tend to lie about you and either literally or talk bad about you to other persons, and they make you think that you're always wrong all the time. And the book proposes how you can handle manipulators. Number one is never believe, always hold on to the positive, hold on to what you believe about the issue at hand. Always hold on to it and never, if as much as you can, avoid manipulators like the plague. Avoid them and never make them believe that you are wrong, and don't try to justify yourself as much as possible too. So quite a number of chapters that impacted me. And lastly, let me just say, a lot of things to say, but because of the worth of time, I will just mention one and then I stop. Is that the book also gives ideas on negotiating, how you can negotiate, that when negotiating, always think win-win on both sides. Never give without taking. Never give without taking. For instance, Vikaash, if you are my brother and we have the same father, I could see, and you ask me, "Oh, Taiwo, can you take dad for lunch today?" Yes, of course, I will say yes, but the book recommends that don't just say yes. You say yes if, always respond with a condition. For instance, you ask me, "Taiwo, will you take that out for lunch today?" "Oh, yes, I will take that out for lunch if you will handle the laundry." So, life is give and take. Don't just think win-win in every situation. When negotiating, think win-win. I think that will be all for now.
Sounds like a powerful read. There's definitely lots of lessons we can learn from the book. But for
Yeah.
you, were there any specific lessons or word of wisdoms that really hit home for you? Specific for you?
Well, okay, specific for me, it's number one, that people are shaped by their personal experiences, and When you meet people, you cannot solve all their problems, but you can make their stay with you and their relationship more enjoyable and make it worthwhile. And another thing is that we all have what we call a backstory, which sometimes shapes our behavior. Everyone on this planet has a backstory which shapes our personal experiences. So when your colleague or your friend disappoints you, when your friend forgets your birthday, when somebody snaps at you, yeah, always remember that there is a reason. Of course, it might be a rubbish reason, but it's still a reason. So understanding the reason makes it easier to deal with other people's negative behavior. If you can't change the way they act, you will find it slightly easier to take to have a reason, to understand the reason behind it. And then lastly, one great lesson is that no one has to be like you. No one has to be like you. Almost all of us are guilty of this. We all at times think our ways are the best, and then that everybody must be like us. It mustn't be so. The fact that you don't like something doesn't make it wrong. We Everybody must not be like you. Allow people to have their choice and respect people's choices and their opinions.
Understanding is definitely a source of happiness. Now, thinking about other people who might read this book, how do you think it could benefit them? What would readers take away from it?
Okay, well, it's going to benefit a lot of readers because, like I mentioned at the introduction, that we everyone that wants to really grow to the top as a leader, and you want to be successful in your skills, in the practice, your practice, either as a researcher, as a leader, as a boss. If you want to be impactful and be influential, you must learn people skills. And this book is worth having on your shelf if you want to develop people skills and understand the reason why people behave and how to to overcome difficult situations, because you will meet different people. Everybody will not be the same. People won't relate the same way because of their personal experiences and how their previous experiences are shaping their lives. So this book will really help a lot of people struggling with relationships, trying to figure out how people behave and how to relate well with people, how to strengthen their bond in whatever relationships they find themselves, whether romantic relationships, colleague, academic relationships, work, employee-employer relationships. It's will really go a long way to help. So it will help the readers to understand people and how to help people, assist people that need help, and to get people to work alongside with you. Because you cannot work alone, you can't succeed in isolation. You need people to work together. If you want to go far, if you want to go far, you need to work along with people. Get people to work on your side. No one gets to succeed on their own. If you look at great people in our world today, like the Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, um, um, Bernard Arnault, they all people oriented. They work with people and understand people's skills. So this book, it's a go-to and recommended for everyone that needs to build their relationships. Thank you, Vikesh.
That's definitely interesting. And just to get a bit critical, how was the writing style? Was the book well organized? Or is there anything you think could have been better?
Well, the book, like I said, the book is concise, and the author's style of writing is actually simple and easy to read. And however, for critical readers, critical thinkers who like to read critical books, they might not appreciate the book order because the book tends to be formulaic in terms of the contents were repetitive, which could be monotonous for critical readers. So, but aside that, the book is simple to read and short. The chapters are actually short and brief, which helps quite a number of readers to be able to read quickly and to really digest, and with quick quotes to summarize each of the chapters, which help to navigate. But it's limited in terms of more practical explanation of the reason why people behave, why they behave. So the book needs it's lacking more practical explanations, more practical examples overall. So which needs to be included. But aside that, the book is well structured and simple to read, concise, with good quotes to summarize every chapter. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Dr. Taiwo. To wrap up your review, can you give us an oral summary? And of course, would you recommend it?
A very big yes. I would recommend it. I recommend it to everybody listening to me now, listening to us and watching us right now. It's a good book that is worth having on your bookshelf. And summarily, the book helps us to understand people, helps us to criticize constructively, helps us to avoid being manipulative, helps us to avoid competition, and helps us to complement people, helps us to help people go through what they are going through and help people to succeed. So I will recommend the book, The Rules of the People by Richard Templar. Thank you, Vikaash, for having me.
Besides that, is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered?
Well, aside the book by Richard Templar, The Rules of the People, there are other books which I recommend that could be we could read from the author: The Rules of Management, The Rules of Leadership, The Rules of Parenting. And one particular thing that the author also mentioned that I think is really, really critical in this generation, it's earning respect, how you can earn respect. And the author mentioned about 3 things to do to earn respect. Everyone loves to be respected. No one loves to be dishonored. I'm sure you, Vikaash, you like to be respected as well. Yeah, so the author suggested 3 ways in which we can earn respect. And number 1 is be good at what you do. Be good at what you do, whether you are a public speaker, a lecturer, a manager, a parent, whatever profession you find yourself, you need to be good at what you do. It means excellence is needed in whatsoever you do. Whatsoever is worth doing is worth doing well. Is a popular phrase, words that we have known for a while. So be good at what you do. And then number 2, know you are good at it. It is good to be good at what you do. It is also good to also know that you are good at what you do. And then the last, which sums it all, which holds the other 2, is whatsoever you do it with integrity. Integrity. One of the books that I've read, I think Zig Ziglar also, one of the authors, I can't remember the authors now, or Mike Murdoch, one of these authors, he wrote in one of his books, he said, if you lose money, you lose nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. If you lose your character, you lose everything. And character is knitted with integrity. When integrity fails, it means the foundation will fail. So whatsoever we do, it is important that integrity must accompany, must be the foundation. Nobody wants to be duped. Nobody wants to be scammed. Nobody wants to be deceived. Everyone wants to relate with people that have integrity. And if you meet people with integrity, you can commit whatsoever you have to them and go to sleep. You don't have to be scared of anything. I think the world today needs a lot of people with integrity. Relationship needs integrity. So if you want people to respect you, if you want to earn respect, because respect is earned. You don't force people to respect you. If you want to earn respect, be good at what you do, know you are good at it, and also do it with integrity. Integrity is a bedrock that sustains a man. Even if you are good at what you do and you rise to the top, if you lack integrity, the fall will be so massive. So do whatsoever you do with integrity. That's my advice to everyone. And then one last thing is, don't be scared to admit your mistakes. Every one of us makes mistakes at one point in time. There's a popular saying that says that if you can't make mistakes, you can't make anything. So don't be scared to admit your mistakes. This is not to mean that you have to announce or broadcast your mistakes, but learn to admit your mistakes when mistakes are being made, are disclosed to you. Oh, learn to admit it. You learn from mistakes. Every great man you see today has committed a bundle of mistakes, but they have learned from their mistakes. The story of Thomas Edison is an intriguing story. The inventor of the light bulb. The history has it that he tried several times, and he was asked that how come he persisted for several times before he could get across to the light bulb. He said each time that he fails, he understood a new way to do what he was trying to do. So don't be scared of mistakes, and don't be scared of admitting your mistakes. The only problem will be when you fail to learn from your mistakes. When you repeatedly repeat your mistakes, it becomes a bigger challenge. I think this sums it up. Thank you, Vikaash.
Thank you, Dr. Taiwo, for the amazing review of the wonderful book, The Rules of People by Richard Templar.
Thank you,
Now,
Vikaash.
let's hear from Yu Ling. Could you introduce yourself to the audience?
So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Yu Ling, and I'm from Faculty of Computing. I'm currently an undergraduate student studying computer science in bioinformatics, and I'll be in second year in next semester.
Great. Now, how did you come across Same as Ever by Morgan Housel? Was it a random find or something that was recommended?
Okay, so I think it's almost the same as Dr. Taiwo, who for people who like to read, I just casually walk into a physical bookstore and then want to get some book. And then I picked up this book because it has some of my favorite writers. They do recommended this book. For example, this one at the back of the book, and it's a recommendation by Ryan Holiday, and I'm a big fan of his book. So I think maybe I can try this new writer because this is probably my second book of Morgan Housel, and I'm still not a big fan of him, but I think I can kind of just give it a try.
Let's move on to the details. Can you give us some basic info about the book, the title, author, year of publication, and anything else interesting?
Okay, so this book is called Same as Ever, and as not the title, but some of the lines on this book said, "What never changes in a changing world is the timeless lessons on risk, opportunity, and living a good life." Kind of like the sneak peek of what is in this book. And this book is written by Morgan Housel, and then it's published in 2023. This book has 182 pages and is divided into 23 chapters. And one of the good thing about this book that I love is really each of this chapter, it can be read separately. It's not continuous. It's not a story. It's what do we call it? Is kind of suit our title today, like read and relax. You can just grab this book when you want to chill. It's not topics that hard to digest. So yeah.
Interesting. Now, could you give us a brief summary of Same as Ever and tell us what caught your attention and made you want to read it?
Okay, so as the title of the book called Same as Ever, this book is intended to tell some of the rules in life that is observed by this author that is never changing in a changing world. I assume that he is a person who have read a lot of history books or have kind of deep knowledge in history events, and then he observed all the past events and he summarized that the world is never changing. I mean, the history repeats itself, but it's actually not a history, probably just the human behaviors, which I think me and Dr. Taiwo, we have this same interest in reading, that we love to read about books that's kind of just related to how humans behave. This is almost, I mean, the core idea is almost the same. And honestly, I picked up this book because selfishly, I wanted to know if my life plays out 100 times, and what would be true in 99 of them. What would be true? What should I do that in 99 times I would be great, I would be successful, I would be smart. So I want to know the truth. And let me highlight some of, since the story is kind of in this 23 chapters, the idea are kind of different from each other, so I cannot summarize the whole book, but I can tell you some of my favorite chapters, which I think is different from my understanding, because those who is already in my understanding, I think is something else, so I won't highlight them. So some of my favorite idea. Okay, so in this book it said risk is what you don't see. So we love to forecasting, we love to foresee things, and we love to do risk calculating, but in fact we're not doing risk calculation, because based on the definition of this author, for the risks that we can see, they're not risks, they're just different possibilities of an event. And the risk that we cannot see is the real risk, which most of the time it will shape the whole event, and it has the greatest impact on the whole event than all the other possibilities that we can foresee. And well, probably just very little, let me talk about the introduction of this book, why it caught my attention at first. So the introduction of this book is a real life story by this author. It's a story of him going to skiing with his two best friends. So they went skiing, and then basically two of his friends, they caught an avalanche, like the snow falling down, and then these two friends, they were basically covered under the snow, and then they died. And then one big thing that, I mean, the thing that caused the writers didn't go skiing with these two friends is not that he foresee that there will be an avalanche that that happened in that afternoon. It's just that he actually didn't know why. He didn't foresee it, but then that is the biggest risk. If he can foresee it, he'll probably stop his friends from going to skiing at that part of the snow, and then that would have avoided that tragedy. But he didn't foresee anything, and he didn't know why he didn't follow his friends. So I mean, the thing that showed me is that is is a real story, and then it's his real friends and dying. And well, this okay. We can go back to another point. That's about the risk, and then and also in chapter 3, there's a part about expectations and reality, which kind of sound a bit like self-help. That is say that the world isn't driven by greed, it's driven by envy. That most of the time we don't want to be good. We want to be better than other people. That our life is not defined by what we do, it's defined by our comparison with those around us. And then our happiness is also depend on this comparison. So okay, so this quote from chapter 3 said, people weren't just better off, but they felt better off. Okay, so remember when people back then, we feel like they were happier than us. In fact, they're not better than us. Their life is not better. They're not richer, but they just have less comparison to those around them because there's no internet. There's less comparison. They only know those people in their neighborhood, and then they were almost of the same background and same income range. So they felt better, but they are not actually better. And then it kind of like a lesson for us that to obtain, to happiness most of the time is not depends on how good you do. You just don't compare yourself to those that is of different background. And then there's no such thing as we call better, because we don't know the whole picture of this person or this event. So pretty much our happiness is depends on our expectations. So don't expect much. You expect the least, and when you get anything, it will just be better than what you expect. I think I'll pass it back to Vikaash. I have a few points here, but I don't know how to organize them.
Okay, that seems to show your interest in the book with lots of the points. But is there any chapter or section that really made an impression for you? A particular one among many others?
So there's this line said, the need for certainty is the greatest disease the mind faces. It's a quote from Robert Greene, which is one of my favorite writer. And then I think certainties. Okay, so we have to admit it. At least for me, I'm a person who like to predict things. I like certainties. I don't like a sudden change of my plan. But then most of the time, we cannot compute any course of event in our life. We cannot calculate everything. We cannot predict them. And then it's also because that the course of our life depends on those around us. And then they even though we can do a rational thinking, but we cannot assume them to perform the same rational thinking as us. And then we're human, we're animal, we have emotions. So there's also this quote by Will Durant said, logic is an invention of man and may be ignored by the universe. That we have the logical thinking in us, but most of the time, the outside event in this universe is not rational most of the time. And then it also highlights that we should diminish our rely on certainties. Like even though it gives us a sense of comfort, it calms us down in any tension. But we certainly have to assume that the only certainty is that there will always be uncertainties. Okay, so from this book, it said this explains why people they're willing to go to war, and then it explains a lot about the stock market. Like even though we have good formula, we have good statistics, we can calculate all the risks, but some of the time, if you look back in history, some of the events, they are not rational and they kind of sound crazy, like why people perform or behave the way they did, because it's not rational. So it's interesting, and it never changes. When we think people will get more rational, that they will learn from the history, they'll learn from the past, but in fact, we never. It's same as ever. So I think it's a point worth highlighting. Yeah.
Thank you. And in case you've already shared some, are there any more lessons or wisdom did you take from the book? Anything that really resonated with you?
I think I missed all right, let me check. Okay, so also for people who like to plan, for people who like to put everything on the spreadsheets, is a good reminder that I think it's time to embrace the uncertainties, or to embrace a little bit of contingency, that not everything is in our control. Like, even though we love to have control of everything in our life, but most of the time we don't have control of them. And we have to embrace the uncertainties, or we will be miserable. I'll pass it back to Vikaash.
Yeah, correct. Uncertainties are part of life that we cannot avoid. And how do you think this book could be beneficial to other readers? What would they gain from reading it?
Well, so as I said, I feel like the original reason why I picked up this book is that I want to know the truth of life. So maybe by recommending this book, I also want to remind people that we're not living in an era or a generation that is never been foreseen before, or the so-called, the critical of anything. In fact, most of the generations, or most of the people, they have been told that they live in a never been foreseen generation or era, and in fact, it's all the same. So advice here is that for people to resist the temptations, to do most of the thing people told you to do, and you don't have to follow them. And then okay, well, this idea is probably came from my opinion that the internet sort of misguiding people to thinking that they should do a lot of things that is not that is not say not invented, but is not performed by people before this, because they have been told this is the trend, that like this is the future of this world. But in fact, this could just be a pattern of human behaviors to stand out. And then I think it's kind of make worse in this digital era. So my idea is that still same as ever, nothing is different, and then nothing should take us by surprise.
Now let's talk about the writing. Was the book well written? Do you think the ideas were presented clearly? Any suggestions for improvement?
Well, critique for this book, I think I wouldn't say critique, because I'm not a big fan of this writer, and in fact, this is the second book I've read from this writer. So I wouldn't recommend much on his writing style or his idea delivery. But I think he makes a good organization when he separate all of his ideas into different chapters, and then these chapters, they can be read separately. So for people living in this distracted world, you don't have to read continuously or feel like you have to give up this book once you haven't touched it for a long time, that you forget about what is in the previous chapter. But you can just start a new chapter, and then each chapter is around 10 pages or less, or a little more. But then it won't take you like a long time. You can read one chapter each day, and then It's suitable for people who just want to read and relax.
And finally, can you give us a brief summary of your thoughts on Simmer Server? Would you recommend it to others?
Yeah, I would recommend it to other definitely. And then so summary of this book. All right. So one of the big idea that the author highlight in the introduction of this book is that we focus so much on the future. We focus so much on how to predict the future, when in fact there is a pattern in the past events that never change, and we should not focus on the trend of the future or what is possible in the future, but in fact we should focus on what is never changed in the past, and that will be constant in the future, so that we should know what to focus on to shift our attention to the other side. And also a little cashback on the point before this about the expectations and reality, because I feel like this part is related to one's happiness, is that we should control our expectations, because if happiness and expectations is a two-part equation, and we do not have control of our happiness, but we have control of our expectations. So we should focus more in controlling our expectations, and by controlling that, we don't have to grow our expectations to let it bigger than our capabilities and to bigger than the reality. So about this one, for people who like to daydreaming, I think is a big point that we should focus on. It's not about telling people to be less ambitious or to not have big dream, but it's just that a suitable amount of control in expectations could really change your life a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before we wrap up?
No.
All right. Thank you so much to both Dr. Taiwo and Yu Ling for sharing their thoughts today. It's been really interesting hearing your reviews, and I'm sure everyone in the audience has gained some recommendation from this discussion. Thanks to everyone for joining us for the Read and Relax Series 17 2024, and we hope to see you at our next session. This is Moderator Vikaash Harichandran from Faculty of Electrical Engineering, representing Friends of the Library UTM. Thank you.
Um,